Welcome to the 24 months blog budgeting and forecasting file. We'll go ahead and open it up and get started. You'll see once you open it up that it's pretty basic. You have your revenue forecast, you have your expense forecast, and you have an income statement. The income statement is more of just an overall view of your budget or your forecast. So we'll start here on the revenue tab. What you want to do when you start is you change the 0 to a 1, and it will highlight um, the areas that need to be updated and the areas that are updated automatically. Alright, so what you're looking at here is for your first 3 years you're going to put in actual numbers if you have them. What's most important is that you at least update this year 3 number. You want to update it because the seasonality number here is based on this year 3 number. And so there's two ways to do this. If you're a brand new company, you're going to want to change this year 3 to year 1. And you're going to want to update these numbers based upon what you think is going to happen. And so you'll go through here and you'll update how much you'll think you'll make in January, February, March, April, all the way through December, and how much it's going to cost you. Now this is directly related to the actual item being made. It's not related to the actual expenses of making running the company. You'll update those on the expense tab. So if you make a sell and it costs you, let's say your sell was $100, but it cost you $10 to sell that item, then you would put in $100 here, and then you would put in $10 here, and you would do that all the way through January through December. Alright, so I'll walk you through the rest. Once you have all that in, your seasonality will be updated based upon these numbers. Also, if you're only doing 1 year, go ahead and hide these. So you'll just select and then you'll press hide. And then this number right here is automatically applying the growth rate that you're going to add here. You could also hard code a number in here if you want, but I'm just going to apply the 5% growth rate to your forecasted year 1. If it's going to be 0, go ahead and put 0 there as well. So for this example, the average cost of sales is 38.3%, or rounded to 38%. And what's happening here is this number goes to right here, and it's multiplying it, and then these numbers, or this number, is multiplied by this number right here to give you the revenue for the month. And then your cost of sales is this number multiplied by the 38.3 to get your cost of sales. So for year 1, you can see that your revenue forecast is $24,000 and your cost of sales is $9,000. Okay, let's say in year 2 you're still going to grow at 5%. Or also, these cells right here are linked back up to here just by default. You could change these based upon if you bought a new machine or something along those lines. So let's say this goes down to 20% because you bought a machine and it's going to reduce it. You would want to go through and change these to 20% all the way through. You want to change it year by year, so it could also go back up. Or let's say you're not going to grow this year, or revenues are going to be flat. Or even if you need to add in a negative percent, so you're going to reduce your revenues by 1% in year 5, kind of seeing how things happen. But you go through and you update it based upon what you think is going to happen. And then your revenue is done, but you also want to go down here and update kind of one or two bullet points for each year based upon why you changed the revenue forecast or why you think it will be strong, and why you changed the cost of sales forecast if you did, just so you know what your forecast assumptions are. Alright, and then over here what you're going to do is you're going to go and update your expenses by month. This will probably be the most tedious task that you'll have to do. But you go and you update it by month, and these are the categories that I'm going to use and stick with. If you know how to manipulate the spreadsheet and you need to change your columns and stuff throughout, go ahead. But again, this template's for the most basic, so that the most basic of users will be able to understand how to use it. So you have some expenses here. First thing you want to do is go through and clear the contents on them. You'll get these little errors. If you want to go and clear each one of them, you could select, and then this right here will ignore the error. It's not really a big deal, it's just saying that there's a calculation based on a zero amount. So you go through and you enter in all of these. I'll tell you a little bit about what's happening right here. This number right here is summing for January, and then this number right here is summing for all the months. But I would do your best as far as getting an expense for each month, instead of just lumping it all over here and hard coding a number right there. You can see right here that this is automatically updated off of the revenue tab. So if you only have 1 year's worth of data, or you're estimating for your first year business, then you will want to just go ahead and hide these numbers right here, because we're not going to use them. Hide. Alright, then all I've done for the sample data is just to keep all the numbers the same, forecasting out. You could also increase them by 3% a year, or if you know that there's different fees coming through. But for simplicity, I just kept them the same. It's not necessarily right for your company, so decide what changes need to be updated and give it kind of your best guess. I mean, this is looking at 5 years out, so that's really all you can do. And then after all this is updated, then you want to go back through, change that back to 0, and then also you could change that one. It does the same thing. But after that's all done, you go over to your income statement, and before you hide these rows, you want to change, you want to delete that number and that number and that number, and then you want to go ahead, and also you would have deleted out this information from the revenue tab and expense tab. let me go ahead and do that really quick, just to show you. Then we'll hide it again. And then you'll come over to your expense tab. All that will be zeroed out. You highlight here and you hide. Alright, and go ahead and turn this on right here. Change that to a 0. And you'll see the areas you need to update. If you have depreciation and interest, then go ahead and update interest expense. Go ahead and update it there. Most of the times that's just going to be 0, so it's not going to matter. Now your income taxes, that number you could go ahead and hard code in. Right now it's just estimating at 25%. It's pretty standard if you're a sole proprietorship. If you have a tax accountant, they could help you put the numbers in there, but I recommend 25%, or if you know your tax rate that you need to set aside, go ahead and update that, and just do that by changing it there. And basically it takes your profit or your earnings before taxes and multiplies it by your tax rate to get your tax number. But you update that number there. And then also here, if you take out money each year, go ahead and just put out how much money you're planning on taking out. If you plan on leaving it all in there, this is basically a retained earnings, but I call it cash projection. But that is it. Then you change that back to 0, and now you have a revenue, and now you have an income statement that's forecasted out for 5 years. As you know more about the coming years and budgeting and forecasting, you could go ahead and make a copy of this worksheet and update it each year as you go along. I'm also working on a budget versus actual worksheet, which you'll be able just to copy and paste the revenue and cost of sales and the expense, and it becomes your budget for the year, and you could put in actual numbers as you go along to see how you're doing. If you buy the business planning tool, which includes both this workbook and then the marketing analysis workbook, I'm throwing that in as well, so you'll see that. If not, it's also for sale on 24monthsblog.com in the product section. Well, I hope this helps you out, and I feel that once you get this completed, you'll have a better understanding of your company, the financial aspect of it. If you still have questions, go ahead and email me at daniel@24monthsblog.com, and I will help you make this work for your company as well. Alright, thank you.